and I love my community. I have a proven record with fiscal responsibility, managing multi-million-dollar budgets successfully numerous times. I've served in 2 combat zones. I'm Ozark Schools Volunteer of the Year, which is to me my biggest accomplishment. I didn't know I was going to get elected or selected for that, but that was a very humbling experience. But more importantly, I think my leadership experience is what will benefit this county. Leadership's a lost art in our community or in our world. I would like to utilize my proven leadership skills to represent you in this county. One thing I will say without reservation, representing someone is a huge responsibility and one that I take seriously. And I can assure you, if I'm your Eastern Commissioner, every decision I make will be in the best interest of all citizens. I will not be influenced by my personal relationships or my position as your Eastern Commissioner. And I would ask for your vote as your Eastern Commissioner. Thank you.
My name is Sue Ann Childers, and I am your Eastern District Commissioner. I joined the commission on March 30th of last year, and together we have all seen the deception and the destruction that occurred last year. I was thrust on the front lines immediately upon arriving in the commission, but I have stood firm on my responsibilities to you as your commissioner. When the sheriff wanted $5,000 to retain an attorney, a criminal attorney, before he was even charged with a crime, I was the one that voted no, because I didn't want any tax dollars spent on hiring an attorney. I recruited an interim sheriff that came to us with a team and a plan to restore trust and commitment in the sheriff's office. When the rains came, I went out with FEMA. I spent time looking at the destruction. I supported our road crews who were working timeless hours to try to protect the citizens of this county. As part of the relief effort, I have worked tirelessly to find ways and motivate agencies to support us in the repair of our roads and bridges. I have become the liaison to the other county offices. They work together with me so that we can solve problems, and we have taken it to the next level. Every time that we get together, I started quarterly meetings with all departments so that we could hear about their successes, their concerns. We could work as a group and not individual departments. I go to work every day and listen to our citizens. I go to day meetings and night meetings because commissioners are required to serve on boards throughout our communities. I would love to be your commissioner. Thank you.
Okay, the first question, beginning with Mrs. Childers, is when it comes to balancing the budget, specifically what areas need cut and what needs more funding?
Well, I think we have used our money fairly wisely, but we are a growing county. They're fastest growing county. We're tied with Platte County in Missouri on how fast we're doing that. We only have a limited amount of revenue coming in, and we still have to solve our problems. So our auditor and chief financial officer is in charge of doing the budget, and she is meeting with, and should meet with each office, and we try to do that. All right, and then it'll come before us, and we're trying to do that. I believe we have to give credit to the county offices for understanding that we only have a limited amount of money, and we have to fit that budget within that and still be able to take care of obligations for the new judge, for our crowding of our offices, our roads that are falling apart. We have to start planning each thing and be fiscally responsible with those plans.
Mr. Phillips?
Budgets are ever-changing process. What's important today is not going to be in 3 years. But where we're lacking in our community is not recruiting jobs and businesses here. You'll never have enough money. Raising taxes absolutely has the reverse effect on your overall operating budget, because it hurts the people that are, it decreases their disposable income. But what we need to do, a budget is a budget. You have to stay in that budget, and you have to be proactive in planning. But what we really need to do as a community is we need to come together and look for ways to recruit businesses, which will increase the sales tax. But by all means, raising taxes is the absolute worst thing to do to the overall end user. It will reduce, it might increase the taxes in your budget for a while, but in the end, you will lose every time. It's well documented. The Missouri Institute has well documented that, and you can validate that on their website. But just to get jobs here, get jobs.
Next question, beginning with Mr. Phillips. And Sue, would you like to say anything else?
Sorry. It's all right. No, I believe he's right. Economic development is seriously important here, and we have taken steps to begin that coalition with as the county, and many of the cities have already signed on to help us with that, and we intend to hire an economic development expert to come in and help us to bring those businesses here, which consequently brings the workers here, and I would encourage everyone to shop local. We have to get people to spend their tax dollars here, live here, and then also work here. So economic development is crucial.
Okay, yes.
I think we have the talent here. I think there's enough people that would volunteer their time and energy. We have so much going for us here in Ozark especially. We have a major thoroughfare that is the bloodline for one of the top 10 tourist destinations in the United States. We need to seize that opportunity. I don't know that hiring more people is our best, and it might be, but I think we could do it as a community if we came together through the chamber, through the businesses and things of that nature.
Okay. Next question, beginning with Mr. Phillips. Do you agree with the purchase of the Mercy Clinic, and why or why not?
Again, I'm not going to sit here and armchair quarterback anybody on any of their decisions unless I'm right there day in and day out and have all the information available. I do not have that information available. So it's not in my nature to sit back and be judgmental. That's just not me. I wouldn't want you to second guess me on my investigations with the sheriff's office, because you would not have access to the same amount of information I had, and I would never disrespect somebody and armchair quarterback their decisions.
Ms. Childers?
I appreciate that. We do work very hard to make those decisions, and I will say the task force was not privy to the Mercy building because it was not available at that time. But we could purchase that, solve some crowding issues immediately, and still get ready for our new judge, and we had to move people. And we had the ability to use funds that we had saved in order to purchase that building. We've done some remodeling on it. We've moved all of our planning and zoning, building inspections, highway administrative team to that area so we can give juvenile more space. So we're starting to move forward, and we will have room by January 1st for the new judge because of the purchase of the Mercy building and other work we're doing.
I will share my experience of working in the judiciary for the federal government, and this is one of the things that they get right. My recommendation a year and a half ago was to build the prosecutor's office behind the existing judicial center and utilizing the prosecutor's office as the new courtroom. This will minimize reoccurring expenses to staff the security personnel that's going to be necessary. It puts the county at a tremendous liability from my perspective in law enforcement.
Okay, the next question is an audience. Would you like a rebuttal?
I'm sorry?
Were you requesting a rebuttal?
No.
Okay. Next question, beginning with Ms. Childers, is when the Justice Center was built, the public was told that it was built strong enough to have another floor added to the top, and now we are being told that it can't be done. How would you explain that?
Well, it's been a few years since it was built. A lot of the problem with adding that third floor has to do with security, which I'm sure Mr. Phillips could quickly answer. But building codes change, we're going to have to add, everything from electricity to plumbing, but also their tower of security would have to be moved up a floor, plus the stairways, and we have inmates in every pod. So they would have to be all moved in order for construction teams to get in there to add another level. And then when you do that, you're still looking at needing another judge space when we hit 100,000 population. I'm not sure that the expense and the worry of that, and I've not heard it from an engineering's perspective. All right, we have not gone there. But we do know that if we have to move everybody, that's going to be very costly. And then we still need another judge for when we hit 100,000 population. So yes, he's right, we can refit once we get the prosecutor into spaces that she can actually do her job well. So she's doing a great job now, but she's out of room. We absolutely have to fix that. So we need to look at a whole plan on how to do that.
Mr. Phillips?
Repeat the question, I want to make sure I get that right.
Sure. 1 second, please. There you go. When the Justice Center was built, the public was told it was built strong enough for another floor to be added to the top. Now we are being told that can't be done. Please explain. This is an audience question.
Well, the meeting I attended was, think of the logistics behind that. You're going to add onto an existing building that has to stay functional, operating. It's not feasible. Well, it's feasible, but I don't think it's in the best interest of the taxpayer. Eventually, we're going to have to come up with a way to build a new judicial center. We're mandated by the state, and Lord only knows the restrictions we have that are mandated on it. It's statute. We don't have that choice. The state tells us we will do certain things. And there's some tough decisions to be made, but eventually we're going to have a new judicial center. The crime is rampant here. So the jail is always your biggest liability and a big expense. And we're overcrowded. It's as simple as that. It's something that was inherited. In hindsight, that place should have never been built in the first place. I mean, anyone with any experience in building judicial centers would tell you that you always build with plenty of room for expansion. And building up is not going to work. I mean, you could do it, but I wouldn't want to be telling the judges why there's jackhammering going on above the court during a jury trial. It just wouldn't be.
Just one point of clarification. When we said add on, it was only adding a third floor to the jail. It was not adding any floors to the actual judicial side. So we still have the same problem we've always had, even if we add another pod to the jail.
Okay, this next question begins with Mr. Phillips, and it's individual for each of you. Mr. Phillips, do you agree with the current commission on the tax levy, general and eastern district? If elected, what direction would you take with the levies next year?
I would just repeat simply, raising taxes of any sort is not productive. It's counterproductive. If you're going to do it, take it in front of the citizens and let them vote on it. Anytime you increase taxes, I can't emphasize this enough. It does not work. It hurts our community. And I don't have time to answer that question in detail, but I can assure you that doing that is not in the best interest of the taxpayers.
Ms. Childers?
Well, I think it's important to remember that we're not paying a tax of any kind that was not voted on by the members of our citizenry, and they voted in all of these taxes. All we were accomplishing is we did not roll them back. I mean, the people spoke and wanted to pay those taxes. Now, it was rolled back for whatever reason, for 10 years or 15, closer to 15, but it was there. Now, in order for us to make the changes that we need to make, then, we needed that. And we were looking on C1, which is what we're talking about, I think. We had over $1 million in damage after those 3 floods, and no money to start repairing all of that. We still are waiting on FEMA money. We're still waiting on that. But it was either to borrow the money or to allow the road tax that people had already voted in, that they wanted their roads worked on. And now we went ahead and let that go. This year, I rolled it back by half because our sales tax revenue is up far more than we realized it would be. So we're trying to do that, but we need to be responsible with the money that we are receiving.
Rebuttal.
I mean, so you're talking about existing, not new. Is that correct?
With changes, agree with the current levy, and then if elected, what direction you plan to take the levy.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Next question, beginning with Ms. Childers. This is an audience question. The roads in East County are in awful condition. Do you have a plan to improve our roads? How are you going to pay for road improvements?
Okay, I think part of the plan, or the problem is we don't have a plan. And we've already started recording all of the calls, the emails, the observations that we're making on the roads. We're making comprehensive lists of all of the roads and the maintenance that each of those roads needs in repair, okay, or just general maintenance. And then we can look at it, make a plan, and start attacking those deficiencies and getting the roads back. They've been ignored forever, and they've just been helter-skelter repaired. And I believe if we have a plan, we can start to do that. Right now, we've had a mild winter last year. We haven't had any floods this year, and we've spent over $2 million in C1 this year already, trying to either update our equipment so that we can make these road improvements, or we've actually made the road improvements. But we have a lot to work on. It's going to take years to get it back so that we are back to a maintenance road department instead of a road building road department.
Mr. Phillips?
You can't foresee disasters or things that are unpredictable, but roads are important. It's a very important part of the commissioner's responsibilities. My theory on that is you have road engineers that work for the county, and you have to empower them to tell you how to best utilize your money. But if this is the money you have, that's the money you have to utilize wisely. And it would be that engineer's responsibility to inform me where he thinks the money is needed the most. And whatever he goes with is what you have to trust him until he fails you. If he fails you, you might want to get another engineer.
Sam, would you like a rebuttal?
Well, I'd like to change the he to she. And Miranda's doing a great job, and she is very good to come and talk to me probably almost daily. And like I said, she's making these lists, and we're tracking calls and emails and whatever we need to do to make that list so we start making progress and we're not skipping all over the place. And I think any of you that have been down any of the roads we've done this fall, you'd be pleased.
Our engineer.
Yes. All right, you're forgiven.
Okay. Next question, starting with Mr. Phillips. The Sunshine Law allows closed session meetings for certain topics, but it does not ever require a closed session meeting. What are your thoughts on this?
Repeat that one.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't get it either.
Sure. The Sunshine Law allows closed session meetings for certain topics, but it does not ever require a closed session meeting. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the Sunshine Law, again, it's a law. I mean, you have to abide by the law. Well, you're supposed to. In my world, it doesn't seem to be done. But if it allows you to do that, then you should exercise that right, because there are some discussions that may, for example, involve personnel actions or other issues that really is no one's business and should be protected for the good of the person. But most everything now is available as far as decisions and all of my probable cause statements and all of my affidavits. It slows down progress, but it's the law and you have to abide by the law. It's simple. And don't manipulate the law. I think that's really bad.
Ms. Childers?
No, he's right. Many times those meetings are protecting somebody, or whether it's legal, personnel, and if we have to come out of closed session and make a decision, that decision is public. But we can't, like he says, it's the law that we cannot talk about those things in front of people when it does not concern them. So that's why they made that available to commissions to use.
Okay, next question, beginning with Ms. Childers. The Sheriff's Office has been struggling with its budget for years. In the past year, it's lost even more money because of state funding cuts and changing concealed carry laws, to name a few. The sheriff's office is already understaffed and underpaid. If elected, how would you address this crisis?
Well, we've already started doing that. It is unfortunate that a lot of the grants and things that they are receiving either have been gotten rid of or, it's a lesser amount. But we have to remember that since we finished paying off that building, he is getting more money through the LEST. So technically, they have 2 law enforcement taxes that they collect. Now, his budget, I wish I could give him everything he wants, and that's why we have to be fiscally responsible and look at everything we can do. We have gotten rid of a zillion cars that were dangerous on the road. We've tried to be responsible in buying cars that are safe for our officers to drive. We're trying to repair things that are wrong with the jail and buying a new security system for the entire building. We're trying to make things where they're safe to work. I'm not sure that there's ever going to be enough money, but we're trying to work. And you gotta remember, his budget is already about $5.5 million already a year. And our own budget for the county is just a little more than that. So it's very hard. We have to work together to try to solve the problems that he's having.
Mr. Phillips?
First of all, I will say that it's not the sheriff's problem, it's our problem. It's as simple as that. I can assure you, I've been in law enforcement 40 years. I could never be more proud to be associated with a group of men and women than I am with the sheriff's office. And you guys should be very thankful for what you're getting for the money that they're getting paid, especially in light where law enforcement is under direct attack. I have employees that qualify for assistance of some sort, but I can tell you that we watch every single penny that we spend. And again, I'll go back to government regulations and mandated training and stuff that just, it drains our budget. But again, by law, we have to do it or we're not in compliance. But we are so antiquated with the equipment we have, and we inherited that. We inherited that. It should have never gotten as bad as it is, but it is, so you can't do anything but drive forward. But the LEST fund was such poorly written that it left a lot for interpretation. That was one aspect that has to be, you guys have to deal with on a regular basis of who's that money go to. But at some point, again, we'll go back to being at tremendous risk liability-wise as a county. But I'm very, very honored and proud to work with that group of employees down there, and you should too, because folks, it's wild, wild west out there. You know, I can't go to Dollar General and pick up a soda without making a drug bust in the parking lot. And that is a fact. That was Tuesday night. And that's just one example. And I'll tell you, and I've told Mr. Morris this, my 40 years of operating in South America, Afghanistan, and drug-related, none of that prepared me for the magnitude and the volume of the drug problem we have in our county. And it's simple as that.
Ms. Childers?
Well, I think I could say ditto to all of that, because we are very proud of our sheriff, and he's worked very, very hard since the deception that was going on in our county, and we're all pulling together to try to make it as safe as we can for all of our citizens. I have no complaints whatsoever in that regard.
Okay, the next question, beginning with Mr. Phillips. What kind of conflict resolution skills are in your tool belt?
Again, 40 years in law enforcement, I've never had anyone really happy to see me. I've spent my entire life. You know, it's amazing. You guys get Christmas cards from people you come in contact, or little goodies at Christmas saying, hey, thanks for your business and this, that, and other. But I've dealt with difficult people my entire life. And thank God I'm married to a psychologist who helped me use my de-escalating skills to minimize the paperwork when I come in contact with these people. But hey, I think overall the citizens of this county are not being depicted as a whole as the good of this community. But as far as difficult people, right down my alley, I use leadership. I was very fortunate to be selected as for the military leadership when I was in basic training. And little did I know that that was going to be the foundation of my career. I've served in a leadership position almost everywhere I went, selected by my peers. I didn't know what a leader was when I went in the Army. I was just trying to get through boot camp with this guy yelling at me. But it's a simple fact. But at the end of the day, you have to be fair, firm, and consistent, because it's really not about me. It's about the citizens. You have to justify in your heart that, hey, am I doing what's best for the county? In leadership, again, I said it earlier, it's a lost commodity in our society. Always put the mission first, always, and you come last.
Ms. Childers?
I started my career as a school teacher a long time ago, and I finished my career with 19 years in the classroom here in Ozark. Not a day goes by when you have, and I taught elementary, but when you have 25 to 30 students that follow you around, everywhere you go, everything you do, watch everything you do even outside the classroom, you are an influence on their lives. And I do get goodies, so I'm sorry. I love my goodies. And I'm Facebook friends with many of my former students, and in fact, my daughter-in-law was in my second grade class. So conflict resolution was a daily activity. And then when I worked with teachers in those types of committees, whatever we were working on, we didn't have a lot of conflict, but we had to get our message through, and that's what it takes. In the courthouse, I go to their office. I think communication is the key to conflict resolution. And if I've been building trust all along, and if they trust me to try to go to another county office and try to solve that issue for them, then I believe that trust grows and our communication is even better. So conflict resolution is about communication and then taking that communication to the trust level.
Effective communication and building relationships, and I can assure you that in my 14 months with the Sheriff's Office, we have all collectively worked very hard to have open lines of communications and worked as a team, not only with the Sheriff's Office, with all elected officials, municipalities, the citizens, critical. And I can tell you that the data's there, that our increase in sexual assault, domestic assault charges alone, one element, because of this effective communication, has increased 100% in the charges.
Okay, the next question, this is for Sue Ann specifically. Okay. We have a county engineer on payroll, so why is the county hiring Great River to do the engineering?
Well, we're working on changing a lot of that. We're having her do more of it than Great River used to do all of it. Now, there are some things that we do need to consult an outside engineer, but quite frankly, we're working on Miranda doing more and more of that on her own, which is happening.
Okay. Would you like to comment on that?
I have no comment.
No? Okay. All right, then this next question is specifically for you, Mr. Phillips. There are people this is from the audience. There are people risking their lives on assistance, and you are a proponent of no taxes. Taxes is what pays these law enforcement officials. The only way you can attract good people is good pay. What is your feeling on tax jobs, also on public assistance?
Well, public assistance was initially to help people during a rough time. And that rough time has become a career. In my experience, I've seen 3 and 4 generations who have never contributed to our community in any fashion because we've made that easy.